Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going deep, really deep, into a book that takes us right into the heart of the Cold War.
Sounds intense.
It is. It's Witness, the autobiography of Whittaker Chambers.
A story that goes way beyond just spies and secrets.
Exactly. It's about ideology, about betrayal, and ultimately it's about one man's search for truth and redemption.
A very personal journey.
Incredibly personal. And to truly grasp the weight of Witness, you really have to understand the man who wrote it.
Yeah, Whittaker Chambers. His life, it wasn't exactly a walk in the park.
Not at all. A life full of struggles, personal ones, ideological shifts, and then that dramatic break with the Communist Party that puts him in the spotlight.
He really lays it all out in Witness, doesn't he?
He does. It's raw, it's honest, pulls no punches, doesn't shy away from the tough stuff, his own failings, the moral dilemmas.
That's what makes it so captivating. It's not just a history lesson. It's a deep dive into a man's conscience, his struggle to make sense of his past.
And right from the start, Chambers throws us into his childhood. It's a vivid picture of his family. And let's just say it wasn't all sunshine and roses.
A bit messy.
To put it mildly. His relationship with his mom, super close, almost too close at times. But with his father, it was strained, distant.
Oh, I see. So that tension between his parents, those early experiences, they really shaped him, didn't they? Both his personality and how he saw the world.
Absolutely. Those early wounds, those unresolved conflicts, they almost seem to pave the way for his attraction to those radical ideologies later on.
Makes sense. Like he was looking for something to hold on to, something to fill the void left by a broken family.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? And, he finds that, at least for a while, in the world of books and ideas, he was a huge reader, just devoured books. There's one that really leaves a mark on him, Victor Hugo's Les Misérables.
Les Misérables. Wow, that's a heavy hitter.
No kidding. But for Chambers, it was more than just a story. It was a revelation, you could say. It ignited this passion in him, a passion for Christianity, and at the same time, for revolution.
Two forces that seem like they'd be pulling in opposite directions.
I didn't think so, right?
Right.
But for Chambers, they were intertwined. This yearning for spiritual redemption, but also this burning desire for radical change. It became the driving force in his life.
And those themes, they weave their way through everything he does.
Like he's drawn to those grand narratives, those epic clashes between good and evil, both in the books he reads and in the real world.
And that's what leads him to communism, right? After World War I, the world seems like it's falling apart.
Exactly. Chambers sees communism as the only way to save humanity. It gives him a purpose, a community, a vision for the future. He talks about how disillusioned he was with the world around him, how he felt it was dying.
And communism offered this chance to build something new, a complete revolution.
And he doesn't just dip his toes in, he jumps in headfirst, joins the American Communist Party, fully embraces their ideology, their mission, everything.
It's easy to forget the historical context, the early 20th century. It was a time of massive upheaval, totalitarian ideologies on the rise, the Great Depression, the looming threat of another war. It was fertile ground for radical movements like communism to take root.
And Chambers, he doesn't hold back. He takes us right inside the American Communist Party. The meetings, the secret activities, that feeling of belonging, of purpose. But then he also reveals the dark side.
There's always a dark side.
The power struggles, the rigid dogma. You get the sense that something's not quite right.
And the thing that strikes me is how honest he is about it all.
Brutal honesty. He's not trying to sugarcoat his experience, not trying to downplay the party's flaws. He describes this growing disillusionment, how he sees their ruthless tactics, silencing anyone who disagreed, purging those deemed disloyal.
Cracks begin to appear.
Cracks in his belief system, absolutely. The ideals clash with the reality he's seeing within the party itself. And this is where Witness takes a really fascinating turn.
He's almost inviting us along for the ride, isn't he, to experience his disillusionment.
He's not just telling us how he felt, he's showing us the specific events, the conversations, those moments of doubt. And one of the biggest turning points, it's Stalin's purges in the Soviet Union.
Yes, the purges, a dark chapter.
He describes this horror, reading about the mass arrests, show trials, executions.
Remember, at this point, Chambers still believed in the Soviet Union, right? The embodiment of the communist ideal.
Yeah, but the purges shatter that image. He saw the brutality, the tyranny, the truth behind the facade. His faith in the party, completely shaken. He starts to distance himself from the official line. And that eventually leads to him being kicked out of the Daily Worker.
The Daily Worker, the party's newspaper, right? He was a writer and editor there.
He was. This expulsion, it's a turning point, a clean break, But it also leaves him feeling isolated, lost. He's lost his faith in communism, but he's still deeply involved in the party's underground activities.
Disillusioned with the party, but still entangled in its web.
Right, and now we're entering this world of shadows and secrets, the world of Soviet espionage. Chambers, still clinging to some remnants of his communist beliefs, finds himself drawn deeper into this clandestine network, operating right under the nose of the U.S. government.
It's a wild shift from his life as a writer and intellectual. Now he's living under aliases, attending secret meetings, passing on classified information, the fear, the paranoia, the constant feeling of leading a double life. He describes it all with incredible detail.
Yeah, it's almost like you can feel the walls closing in as you read.
Hmm.
And he introduces us to this character, J. Peters, a key figure in the American communist underground.
Ah, J. Peters, the one who recruits Chambers into the Soviet espionage apparatus.
The very same. Peters is this shadowy figure, a master of disguise and deception. And Chambers' portrayal of him, it's both fascinating and unsettling. You're never quite sure what to make of him.
Like a chameleon, blending in, pulling the strings from the shadows, I imagine Chambers felt a mix of awe and apprehension around him.
Definitely. And you can see this push and pull in Chambers. He's drawn to the world of espionage, sees it as a necessary means to an end, but he's also repelled by it, by the moral compromises, the betrayal, the potential for violence.
That inner turmoil is palpable. He's still clinging to those communist ideals, but the reality of what he's involved in is starting to wear him down.
And it's in this world of espionage that Chambers meets Alger Hiss, a rising star in the State Department, someone who will come to play a huge role in Chambers' life. It starts as a purely professional relationship, but it evolves into this complex friendship that will have far-reaching consequences for both of them.
Hiss. He's going to play a big part in this story.
A big part. Chambers describes him as brilliant, charming, idealistic, someone who truly believed in the promise of communism to make the world a better place. And for a while, Chambers finds solace in their friendship, the sense of camaraderie, shared purpose. It helps lighten the burden of that double life.
So they bond over this shared ideology, at least at first. But as Chambers' disillusionment grows, I imagine that bond starts to fray.
Exactly. It becomes this source of tension. Chambers is torn between his loyalty to Hiss, someone he genuinely likes and respects, and this growing certainty that the party is corrupt, dangerous, and needs to be exposed. And it's not just about ideology anymore.
Right. Chambers is becoming more aware of the sheer scale of Soviet espionage within the U.S. government.
He describes this network of spies embedded in key positions, passing on sensitive information that could seriously compromise national security.
He gives specific examples, names, dates, that kind of thing.
He does. He lays out how this spy ring worked, their communication methods, the types of information they were gathering. It's a chilling look into the world of Cold War espionage. And it raises some uncomfortable questions, like how vulnerable are democratic institutions to this kind of infiltration? How much damage could they inflict?
That's a question that resonates even today, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And as Chambers becomes more deeply involved, he has to confront the moral implications of what he's doing. It's not just passing information along anymore. He's actively taking part in a conspiracy.
Yeah.
A conspiracy that could have devastating consequences.
This is where we really see his psychological and spiritual struggles come to the forefront. Guilt, fear, despair. He knows it's wrong, but he's trapped. By his past, by his loyalty, by the fear of what will happen if he breaks free.
He describes it as this descent into darkness. He feels lost, alone, alienated from everyone, even from himself. And his writing during this part, it's so vivid, so powerful, you really feel that sense of isolation.
He uses a striking image, right, to describe his state of mind at this time.
He does. The image of a drowning man struggling to stay afloat in this sea of secrets and lies. He writes about the constant fear of being found out, that paranoia that everyone around him is a potential enemy.
It's a suffocating feeling, isn't it? That weight of living a double life.
And in this state of desperation, Chambers makes a decision that will change everything. He chooses to break with the Communist Party, to expose the entire Soviet spy ring.
That's a huge decision, one that carries enormous risks.
Huge risks, yeah. He knows he's betraying people he once considered comrades. He knows he'll be accused of treason, of espionage, that he's putting his own life and the lives of his loved ones in danger.
But he's driven by something powerful, isn't he?
A deep sense of moral conviction. He believes it's the right thing to do, that he has to expose the truth no matter what the cost. And that conviction is what will carry him through the years of scrutiny, the legal battles, the personal attacks that are to come.
Before we go any further, there's something important about Chambers that emerges during this time. his deep concern for his family, especially his young daughter.
Absolutely. His love for his daughter plays a significant role in his decision to break with the party. He wants to create a better world for her, a world free from the kind of tyranny and oppression he witnessed firsthand.
It adds a layer of complexity to the story. He's not just an ideologue, he's a father. And he's driven by that primal instinct to protect his child.
And this leads him to do something pretty drastic. He hides microfilm containing evidence of Soviet espionage in a hollowed-out pumpkin on his farm.
Wait, a pumpkin?
A pumpkin. These pumpkin papers, as they'll later become known, will play a crucial role in the unfolding drama.
It's almost too bizarre to believe.
It is. It speaks to both his cunning and his vulnerability. He's thinking strategically, planning for the future, but he's also terrified. He's entering a battle with incredibly high stakes, and he knows it.
It's a battle that will erupt in the form of the Hiss case, a legal and political battle that will grip the entire nation and leave a lasting mark on American history.
Accusations, denials, loyalty, betrayal. The complex, often painful search for truth in a world increasingly divided by ideology and fear.
It sounds like we're about to enter a whole new level of intensity. The Hiss case. Such a loaded term, isn't it?
It is. It evokes this whole era, the Cold War paranoia that had a grip on America in the late 40s and early 50s.
A dark time. And witness, it drops us right in the middle of it all. With Chambers in the hot seat, accused of being a liar, a traitor, even a drunkard.
They threw everything they could at him. It was a trial by fire, no question, and not just figuratively. He's called to testify before HUAC, the House Committee on Un-American Activities.
The committee tasked with rooting out communists, anyone suspected of communist ties in the government.
Exactly. And it's there, under the glare of the public spotlight, that Chambers makes his explosive accusations. He names Alger Hiss as a former member of the Communist Party, a participant in the Soviet spy ring.
Wow, Hiss. The guy had impeccable credentials.
He did. Harvard Law, State Department, the United Nations. He was the American establishment.
And Chambers, a self-proclaimed ex-communist, is pointing the finger, accusing him of treason.
It was more than just a legal case. It was a clash of ideologies, of worldviews. These two men, once friends, locked in a battle that would define their lives. And Chambers, his testimony, it's so compelling because of the details. He doesn't just throw out vague accusations.
He had the receipts, so to speak.
He did. Names, dates, places, even little details about Hiss's personal life. Things only someone who knew him well would know.
Ah, and that's what starts to unravel Hiss's defense.
Exactly. Hiss denies everything, says he doesn't even know Chambers. But those details, backed up by those pumpkin papers, start to chip away at his credibility.
Those pumpkin papers, it's hard to believe that's where crucial evidence was hidden.
Almost comical, right?
Yeah.
But those microfilm copies of classified State Department documents, they become a turning point. They take Chambers' accusations from the ramblings of a disgruntled ex-communist to a serious national security threat.
It becomes a media frenzy, doesn't it?
A total media circus. Every newspaper, every radio broadcast, they're all over it. And the public is hooked, divided. Some believe Chambers, some believe Hiss. It's like a classic American drama. Good versus evil, truth versus lies, playing out on a national stage.
It's more than just a whodunit, though. There's this deeper moral and philosophical struggle going on. Chambers wrestling with his own demons.
The guilt from his past, the betrayal of his former comrades, knowing that his testimony will likely destroy Hiss. It weighs heavily on him.
And he's so open about it, doesn't try to hide his own flaws, his own involvement.
Not at all. He acknowledges the pain he's causing, but he insists that he has to do it, that exposing the truth is the only moral course of action, regardless of the cost.
It's this raw honesty, this willingness to look inward that makes him such a complex, even tragic figure. Not a hero, not a villain, just a man trying to make sense of it all.
A man grappling with the weight of history, the consequences of his choices. And in the end, the Hiss case, it goes through two trials. The first ends with a hung jury. But the second, Hiss is convicted of perjury.
Perjury. Lying under oath.
Right. He's sentenced to 5 years in prison. And even though he maintains his innocence until his dying day, the case, it destroys his reputation, his career, everything.
The Hiss case really was a watershed moment.
It was. It became this symbol of Cold War anxieties. Anxieties that would shape American policy for decades. And Chambers, the man who brought it all to light, well, he became hero to some, a villain to others.
And what happens to Chambers after all this?
He retreats to his farm, seeks solace in the simple life of a farmer and the spiritual teachings of Quakerism.
A quiet ending after such a tumultuous life.
It is. It's a recognition of the profound cost of his choices. But Witness, it's more than just a historical account of the Cold War. It's a personal and philosophical exploration of this one man's journey through ideology, betrayal, and this search for meaning in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain.
It's a book that stays with you, makes you think, makes you question.
It does. It challenges us to look at our own beliefs, to confront those uncomfortable truths, to wrestle with the moral dilemmas that shape our world.
A powerful story, powerfully told.
If you're looking for a book that will challenge your thinking and give you a deeper understanding of this pivotal period in history, Witness is definitely worth a read.